another one.
One dev doesn't get code reviewed. So, long story short, we have a very, very senior architect on our team that has been doing a lot of SQL rewrites for our application. He has been able to do all of this while completely avoiding code reviews. Now, I went along with this in the beginning despite asking for code reviews, but now I'm really pushing for them after there has been a few critical bugs that have gone out as a result of this work. All other devs on the team must put their work through code reviews, but for whatever reason, this architect has not been subjected to them. He does put his work within SMSS and does not produce pull requests, so nobody sees his work prior to being put on production. It goes through testing after he manually applies his changes. Lately, I've been making a really big stink to our manager to get his work code reviewed, but have been met with a lot of resistance. I expressed my disappointment. Am I wrong for pushing that he gets his changes code reviewed? Is it ever appropriate not to code review work? I understand that it's unlikely both critical bugs would have been caught. However, I think it's risky to not have any other developer on the team look at his work. All right. So, this is a very, very interesting question. Here's a question, right? My question to you. How does how do you sign off on testing if there's no code review? Is code review part of your testing process, right? And if you don't sign off on it, will the code get shipped? Right? That's what I'm wondering. If the if the QA is the last line of defense, right? And they should also be they should also be the first and the last line of defense, but that's another topic. But if the QA is the last line of defense, right? Um, do you not is code review not part of the flow? I know when we're working, part of our checklist is that the code was code reviewed and it was approved, right? So I find it interesting that is he just shipping? Like you're saying it gets manually tested, right? Um, but let's say you didn't test it, or let's say you said you denied, you failed the testing, right? Because there was no code review. Would it get shipped anyways? See, I think you need to strategize better, right? For me, in order to even go through QA, it should at least be in code review. There should be a PR opened for it, right? So not having the word code reviewed, it's of course it's the senior architect's fault, right? It's the developer's fault. It's the manager's fault. Everyone who doesn't require the senior architect to do a code review, right? All their fault. But it's also your fault because you're signing up like if well, it's your fault if right. I'm not gonna say it's totally your fault. If it's your fault if you are signing off on the work without it being code reviewed, because you can say no. You have the power to say no. Like, I'm not testing this without a code review, without it being in code review. Simple. You have that power to do it. So why don't you? Now, I, so I'm going to answer your questions, though, right? You're not wrong for pushing to get that his changes get code reviewed. And is it ever appropriate not to have not to code review work? Um, if it's development work that's gonna be going into production and stuff like that, then it should always be code reviewed, right? Unless it's like some type of no, it should always be like because even if it's some configuration change, we always want to have at least one extra set of eyes on it to see what's going on. It's unlikely both critical bugs would have been caught. Fair, right? Fair, but I mean, it should still be code reviewed. Like yes, the code review does not always catch bugs, but sometimes they do, right? Because other developers can see flaws in logic, right? And making database changes is a pretty big change. At the same time, what happens is, where are the unit tests? Are there unit tests that are running? I think the testing pipeline is failing here, and that needs to be addressed because you should make it like. I know when we use GitHub, we have a set of rules that need to be met, right? Conditions that need to be met in order for the branch to even be mergeable. So I think that that's part of the problem, right? You're the QA engineer on the team. You're the gatekeeper of what goes out, what doesn't go out. So if you think that um if the code reviews are a problem for you, right? Say no. You you can't put your stamp of approval on something you don't believe in, right? How are you approving the code, the changes, the testing, if code review should be part of testing requirements? I think that is something that you can work on, right? That is definitely something that you can work on, and getting the changes reviewed because that puts the company at risk. It puts your job at risk, right? Puts the whole company like it puts everybody's job at risk. And if there's pushback about getting his changes code reviewed, find out why. Why does it see like is it the senior architect is not capable of making mistakes? The senior architect doesn't need any feedback? Question it. As a QA engineer, you have the right to question everything, right? And if at the end of the day, right, don't put your name on something that you're not proud of. Simple rule: do not put your name on something you're not proud of. And if you're not proud of the way that they're operating, and it's causing bugs that's going to be associated like critical bugs associated with your name, got to do something about it. Whatever that might be, you got to do something about it. All right. So just gonna share that.
If you enjoyed the fascinating information shared in this video and you want more, be sure to hit the subscribe button to Tech Coach Ralph to be notified for new videos.
Enigmatic Joker.